I do now want to pivot. This week, President Biden unveiled a new student loan relief plan that would impact more than 30 million Americans by either lowering or eradicating their debt. The Supreme Court, as we know, shot down his sweeping student loan forgiveness plan just last year. So do you think that this is a way for President Biden to appeal to younger voters who he was losing over his Israel policy?
Absolutely. It's a blatant attempt to buy votes. It's the most blatant attempt, really, since Trump wanting to sign the tax cut checks with his own name on it before that election. Every time I think politicians can't stoop any lower, they do. And they do on both sides. They do on all sides. And anytime they can get an advantage, they're going to take it. I just think it's awful. It is awful to ask people who could not afford to go to college, who went right to work, to have them have to pay through tax dollars the opportunities of those who could afford or took loans. That's not what our country's based on. We all have to make an investment. We all have some sort of commitment to our future, to the country's future. And the Supreme Court said what you're doing is wrong. And he's just trying to do it again. And yes, you're correct. It will help him, but it doesn't make a good policy. And once again, I have to say, I don't care whether or not it adds votes to his electoral total. It's wrong to make people, blue collar workers, working class voters, first generation immigrants, people who did not have that opportunity to have to pay for this with their tax dollars. We're all in this together. There are some ways that we have to reduce the cost of education. That is a correct objective, but not by giving people a blank check.
Do you think that in turn, this type of policy, him going on this platform, is going to alienate blue collar workers who are Democrats?
I know it. I can see it. I see it in the votes right now. Joe Biden is doing better among upper middle class suburban women than any Democrat in a long time. But he's losing working class men. He's losing, he may actually, blows me away, but it's possible that Donald Trump will get a higher percentage of the non-government union vote than any Republican in modern times, and even more than that he could actually beat Joe Biden among that voter bloc. And they are mad as hell in watching the president try to give a gift to those people at their own expense.
Why do you think that is? Is this the icing on the cake? Is this the impetus? How could President Trump get those union voters?
By doing exactly what he's doing right now. He's within a few points of them in the polling that we have. I don't know if there's any surveys that show him ahead, but his campaign is actually doing quite well. And Joe Biden's campaign is doing very badly. And I don't think that Biden ever expected there to be a backlash. After all, giving people free money is usually politically smart. In this case, it brings up an awful lot of resentment. And the fact that Biden is doing everything he can, again and again, to try to pay for someone else's education with your tax dollars, I don't think it's going to fly.
You know, he ran on this, that he would help get rid of student loans. And last summer, we saw that the Supreme Court shot that down. Does this have a chance at passing this time around, or is this just giving false hope 8 months away from an election?
I believe, when Biden says he's committed to this, I believe him. I trust him. When the Supreme Court says that it is improper, I trust them in the decision that they're making. I think he's going to do everything he can. I think it's going to help him in the polls. I think it's going to make a lot of people angry with him. But look, young people look at the oldest president in history. He's older. He's older than some of their grandparents. And he's got to do something to get them on board. Abortion is great. It's a very motivating issue among 18 and 29-year-olds. And I think this will be an equally impactful motivational issue.